You wake up every morning with the same weight on your chest, the same knot in your stomach, the same crushing realization that no matter how hard you work, no matter how much you pray, no matter how desperately you try to change your circumstances, you remain trapped in a cycle of financial struggle that feels less like coincidence and more like a curse. You look at your bank account and feel shame. You open your bills and feel panic. You think about your future and feel hopelessness. And somewhere deep inside, beneath all the practical explanations and rational justifications, you wonder if there is something spiritual at work here, something you cannot see but can certainly feel, something that wraps itself around your finances like chains around a prisoner. You are not imagining it. What you are experiencing is real, and it has a name. The spirit of poverty is not just about lacking money. It is about a mindset, a pattern of thinking, a spiritual condition that keeps you bound even when opportunities present themselves. It whispers lies that sound like truth. It makes scarcity feel like safety. It convinces you that wanting more is greedy, that poverty is noble, that your current condition is somehow God's will for your life. And the most insidious part is that this spirit does not just affect your bank account. It affects your decisions, your relationships, your sense of worth, your understanding of who God created you to be. It makes you believe that you are meant to live small, think small, dream small. It tells you that financial freedom is for other people, that abundance is suspicious, that breakthrough is not for someone like you. But here is what I need you to understand right now, before we go any further. God did not create you to live under the oppression of poverty. He did not design you to struggle endlessly, to barely survive, to live in constant fear about your finances. The same God who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, the same God who created everything you see and do not see, the same God who spoke the universe into existence, that God is your Father. And He does not want His children living in bondage to a spirit that steals their peace, kills their dreams, and destroys their potential. But, and this is critical, God will not violate His own principles to deliver you. He will not bypass the spiritual laws He established to govern prosperity and provision. He will not magically transform your financial situation while you remain unchanged in your habits, your thinking, and your stewardship. Freedom from the spirit of poverty is available to you right now, today, but it requires something from you. It requires transformation. It requires obedience to specific habits that God has established as prerequisites for breakthrough. These are not suggestions. These are not optional practices for the super-spiritual. These are requirements, divine requirements, habits that God insists upon before He releases you into the financial freedom He has already prepared for you. What I am about to share with you comes from years of studying both Scripture and the patterns of those who have walked in true financial freedom. Not the kind of freedom that comes from luck or exploitation, but the kind that comes from alignment with divine principle. John D. Rockefeller understood something that most people miss entirely. He understood that wealth is not primarily about money. It is about stewardship. It is about character. It is about habits that honor the laws of prosperity that God embedded into the fabric of creation. Rockefeller said that his success was not a result of special talent, but rather the result of consistent application of proven principle. He recognized that God had given him something far more valuable than money. God had given him the wisdom to establish habits that would unlock sustained, generational prosperity. And while Rockefeller himself may not have used explicitly Christian language in every business dealing, the principles he operated by are deeply rooted in biblical wisdom. The habits I am about to reveal to you are not my opinions. They are not trendy personal development concepts dressed up in religious language. They are God's non-negotiable requirements for those who want to break free from the spirit of poverty and walk in the abundance He designed for them. The first habit that God requires before He will liberate you from the spirit of poverty is the habit of radical stewardship. And when I say radical, I mean complete, total, uncompromising management of everything God has placed in your hands. The spirit of poverty thrives in carelessness. It feeds on disorganization. It grows strong in environments where there is no accounting, no awareness, no intentionality about how resources are used. You cannot break free from poverty while treating your finances like they do not matter, while ignoring your bank statement, while refusing to track your spending, while pretending that if you do not look at the problem, it will somehow solve itself. God is not going to pour more into your hands if you are mismanaging what you already have. This is not punishment. This is protection. God knows that if you cannot handle $10 with wisdom, giving you 10,000 will only create a bigger mess. Stewardship begins with awareness. You must know exactly where you stand financially. Not approximately, not sort of, not kind of, but exactly. You need to know how much money is coming in, how much is going out, and where every single dollar is being allocated. This requires something most people refuse to do. It requires honest, regular examination of your financial life. It requires you to sit down, pull out your statements, list your income, list your expenses, and confront the truth of your current reality. The spirit of poverty wants you to avoid this. It wants you to stay in the fog, in the confusion, in the denial, because as long as you refuse to see clearly, you cannot make decisions that lead to freedom. Radical stewardship also means that you stop making excuses for waste, for impulse purchases, for spending that is driven by emotion rather than wisdom. It means that before you spend a single dollar, you ask yourself whether this purchase aligns with your values, your goals, and your calling. It means you treat every resource as sacred, because it is. Everything you have, every penny, every possession, every opportunity is a gift from God, and He expects you to manage it in a way that honors Him and serves the purpose He has for your life. Rockefeller was famous for his meticulous tracking of expenses. Even when he was one of the wealthiest men in the world, he kept detailed records. He knew where his money went. He did not operate on guesses or feelings. He operated on facts and systems. This was not stinginess. This was wisdom. This was an understanding that stewardship is not just about what you do with much. It is about what you do with little. God is watching how you handle the small things, because your handling of the small things reveals whether you can be trusted with the big things. Jesus made this clear when He said that whoever is faithful in little will be given much, and whoever is unfaithful in little will not be trusted with much. This is a spiritual law. You cannot bypass it. You cannot negotiate with it. You either honor it, or you remain stuck. If you want to break free from the spirit of poverty, you must develop the habit of radical stewardship starting today, not tomorrow, not when you have more money, not when your situation improves, but today, with what you have right now. Sit down tonight and write out where you stand. Look at your accounts, face the truth. Then make a plan, a real plan, a specific plan for how every dollar you receive will be assigned a purpose before it even arrives. This is what the Bible calls being a faithful steward. This is what God requires before He releases you into greater abundance. And here is the beautiful thing. The moment you begin to steward what you have with excellence, even if what you have is very little, you will feel a shift. The chaos will begin to calm. The fear will begin to lift. The fog will begin to clear. And as you prove yourself faithful in this habit, God will begin to open doors, create opportunities, and bring resources into your life that you could never have orchestrated on your own. But it starts with stewardship. Radical, honest, disciplined stewardship. The second habit that God requires is the habit of sacrificial giving. And I need you to hear me clearly on this because this is where most people get stuck, and it is where the spirit of poverty has its strongest grip. The spirit of poverty tells you that you cannot afford to give. It tells you that you need to wait until you have more before you can be generous. It tells you that holding on tight to what you have is the way to keep it safe. Every single one of those thoughts is a lie from the pit of hell. God operates on a completely different economy than the world does. In the kingdom of God, you do not give out of your abundance. You give to create abundance. You do not wait until you have plenty to become generous. You become generous to access plenty. This sounds backwards to natural thinking, and that is exactly the point. The principles of the kingdom are upside down compared to the principles of the world. Jesus said it is more blessed to give than to receive. He said, "Give, and it will be given to you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over." He said whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows bountifully will reap bountifully. These are not nice ideas. These are laws. They are as reliable as the law of gravity. When you give, you activate a spiritual principle that God Himself honors. And when you refuse to give, you cut yourself off from that principle. Now, I am not talking about manipulation or religious obligation or giving because someone pressured you into it. I am talking about giving that flows from a heart that trusts God more than it trusts money. Giving that recognizes that everything you have belongs to God anyway. Giving that understands that you cannot outgive God no matter how hard you try. Sacrificial giving is not giving what is easy or convenient. It is giving what costs you something, giving when it feels uncomfortable, giving when your mind is screaming at you to hold back. Abraham was willing to sacrifice his only son. The widow gave her last 2 coins. David refused to offer God something that cost him nothing. Over and over in Scripture we see that God honors sacrifice, that He blesses those who trust Him enough to give even when it does not make sense financially. Rockefeller, even in his early years when he was making just a few dollars a week, gave away 10% of everything he earned. Later, as his wealth grew, he gave away more than half of his income. He understood that wealth was not something to hoard. It was something to circulate, to invest in the kingdom, to use for purposes greater than himself. And the more he gave, the more God entrusted to him. This is not coincidence. This is cause and effect. This is the law of sowing and reaping at work. If you are not currently giving, not tithing, not supporting the work of the kingdom, not blessing others with your resources, then you have shut down one of the primary channels through which God wants to pour abundance into your life. The spirit of poverty wants to convince you that you cannot afford to give. The truth is, you cannot afford not to give. Every time you give sacrificially, you break the spirit of fear and lack. You declare that God is your source, not your job, not your business, not your circumstances. You activate faith, and faith is the currency of the kingdom. When you step out in obedience and give even when it does not make sense, you create space for God to move in ways that defy logic, in ways that transcend your current limitations, in ways that demonstrate His power and His provision. I have seen this over and over again. People who began to tithe faithfully even when they were in debt, even when they were struggling, and within months, sometimes weeks, they experienced breakthroughs that they could not explain. Unexpected checks in the mail, job promotions they were not expecting, debts forgiven, opportunities that came out of nowhere. This is not magic. This is not name it and claim it nonsense. This is the result of honoring a principle that God established from the beginning of time. When you give, you position yourself to receive. When you sow, you position yourself to reap. And when you refuse to give, you cut yourself off from the flow. I want you to take a moment right now and ask yourself honestly, where do I stand with giving? Am I tithing faithfully? Am I giving sacrificially? Am I generous with what God has given me? Or am I operating out of fear, out of scarcity, out of the lie that if I give, I will not have enough? Because if you are holding back, if you are gripping your resources with tight fists, I need you to understand that you are not protecting yourself. You are imprisoning yourself. You are choosing to stay bound to the spirit of poverty. But the moment you decide to honor God with your giving, the moment you step out in faith and become radically generous, you will begin to see things shift. Not because you are manipulating God or trying to buy His favor, but because you are aligning yourself with a law He put in place, a law that says those who give will receive, those who sow will reap, those who trust Him with their resources will never lack. So here is the challenge. This week, give something that costs you. Give something that makes you a little uncomfortable. Give to your church. Give to someone in need. Give to a ministry that is doing kingdom work. And as you give, do it with joy, with faith, with expectation that God is about to do something in your life that you have never seen before. Because He is. When you honor Him with your giving, He honors you with His provision. The third habit that God requires before liberating you from the spirit of poverty is the habit of consistent work with excellence. And I need to address something here that has caused massive confusion in Christian circles. There is a dangerous teaching that floats around suggesting that if you just have enough faith, if you pray hard enough, if you believe strongly enough, money will just fall into your lap without any effort on your part. That is not biblical. That is not how God operates. That is lazy theology that produces lazy Christians. God designed work before the fall. Work is not a curse. Work is a blessing. Work is how you co-create with God. Work is how you take the raw materials He has given you, your time, your talent, your energy, and turn them into something of value. The Bible is filled with examples of people who worked hard, who applied themselves with diligence, who refused to be lazy or entitled, and as a result, God blessed them abundantly. Joseph worked with excellence in Potiphar's house and later in prison, and eventually he was elevated to second in command of Egypt. Daniel worked with such excellence in a foreign government that even his enemies could find no fault in him. and he became one of the most influential men in the kingdom. Proverbs tells us that the hand of the diligent makes rich, that whoever works his land will have plenty of bread, that a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come upon you like a robber. This is clear. Work matters. Diligence matters. Excellence matters. The spirit of poverty loves laziness. It loves excuses. It loves procrastination. It loves the mentality that says, I will do just enough to get by. I will put in the minimum effort. I will cut corners. I will do mediocre work and expect excellent results. That does not work in the kingdom of God. God honors those who work as if they are working for Him, because they are. Colossians tells us, whatever you do, work heartily, as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ. This means that every task you perform, every job you do, every project you undertake should be done with a level of excellence that reflects the fact that you represent the King of Kings. You are not just working for a paycheck. You are not just working for a boss. You are working as an act of worship, as a demonstration of your character, as a reflection of the God you serve. And when you work with that mindset, when you bring your absolute best to everything you do, people notice. Doors open, opportunities come, promotions happen, not because you are manipulating or trying to impress, but because excellence attracts favor, and favor accelerates opportunity. Rockefeller was known for his relentless work ethic. He was not born into wealth. He did not inherit a fortune. He built his empire from the ground up through sheer determination, strategic thinking, and consistent effort. He worked long hours. He made sacrifices. He studied. He learned. He adapted. He did not wait for someone to hand him success. He created it through disciplined, focused, excellent work. And God honored that. God gave him wisdom. God opened doors. God multiplied his efforts. But the efforts had to be there first. You cannot expect God to bless laziness. You cannot expect God to prosper you while you are cutting corners, showing up late, doing sloppy work, blaming others for your lack of results. God is looking for people who will do what they say they are going to do, who will show up on time, who will go the extra mile, who will take responsibility, who will bring their best even when no one is watching. Because here is the secret. How you do anything is how you do everything. If you are lazy in your current job, you will be lazy in your dream job. If you are irresponsible with small tasks, you will be irresponsible with large opportunities. If you are not excellent where you are right now, you will not be excellent where you want to be. God is watching. He is evaluating. He is testing your character to see if you can be trusted with more. So here is the question. Are you working with excellence right now, wherever you are, in whatever job you have, even if it is not your ideal situation? Are you showing up fully? Are you giving your best? Are you treating your work as an act of worship? Or are you coasting? Are you doing just enough to not get fired? Are you complaining? Are you bitter? Are you blaming your boss, your company, your circumstances for your lack of progress? Because if you are, you need to understand that you are blocking your own breakthrough. God will not promote you out of a place where you are being unfaithful. He will not move you into something better while you are being lazy and mediocre where you are. But the moment you decide to honor Him with excellent work, the moment you decide to bring your absolute best regardless of how you feel or what you are being paid or whether anyone notices, something shifts. You begin to operate in a different realm. You begin to attract opportunities that were not available to you before. You begin to experience favor that you cannot explain, because God honors those who honor Him, and one of the primary ways we honor God is through the quality of our work. So starting today, commit to excellence, commit to diligence, commit to working as if every task is a direct assignment from God Himself, because it is. And as you do that consistently, faithfully, without compromise, you will break the grip of the spirit of poverty and step into the abundance that God has been waiting to release into your life. Before we continue, I need to pause here for just a moment, because what I am about to ask you might feel uncomfortable, but I believe it is important. If you are watching this video right now, I know it is not by accident. You are here because something inside you is crying out for breakthrough, for change, for freedom from the financial bondage that has held you back for far too long. And I want to create a space where we can connect, where you can share your story, where you do not have to pretend that everything is fine when it is not. So here is what I want you to do. I want you to stop for a second, take a breath, and in the comments below, I want you to complete this sentence. My biggest struggle with money right now is, and then I want you to finish it honestly. Maybe your biggest struggle is debt that feels overwhelming. Maybe it is fear that keeps you from making decisions. Maybe it is a pattern of spending that you cannot seem to break. Maybe it is feeling like no matter what you do, you can never get ahead. Whatever it is, write it down. And here is why this matters. First, when you name the struggle, you take away some of its power. You bring it into the light. You stop letting it hide in the shadows of your mind where it can grow and fester. Second, your comment might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to realize they are not alone, that they are not the only one fighting this battle, that there is hope for breakthrough. And third, when I read your comments, and I do read them, it helps me understand how to serve you better, what content to create next, what struggles to address more deeply. So do not hold back, do not be embarrassed. There is no judgment here. There is only a community of people who are committed to breaking free from the spirit of poverty and walking in the financial freedom that God has for us. Go ahead right now, scroll down, and leave your comment. Tell me, what is your biggest struggle with money right now? I am here, I am listening, and together we are going to walk this path toward breakthrough. The fourth habit that God requires before He liberates you from the spirit of poverty is the habit of disciplined, delayed gratification. And this might be the hardest habit for modern culture to accept, because we live in a world that screams at us constantly to have it now, buy it now, experience it now, do not wait, do not sacrifice, do not deny yourself anything. Every advertisement, every marketing message, every social media post is designed to make you feel like you are missing out if you do not have what everyone else appears to have. The spirit of poverty feeds on impulsivity. It feeds on emotional spending. It feeds on the inability to say no to your desires today in order to build something greater tomorrow. If you cannot control your impulses, if you cannot delay gratification, if you cannot prioritize long-term gain over short-term pleasure, you will never accumulate wealth. You will never build financial stability. You will spend your entire life living paycheck to paycheck, wondering why you can never get ahead, while the answer stares you in the face every time you swipe your card for something you want but do not need. Proverbs says, "The wise store up choice food and olive oil, but fools gulp theirs down." In other words, wise people set aside resources for the future. They think ahead. They plan. They save. Foolish people consume everything immediately. They live for the moment. They have no vision beyond today. And the result is that they remain poor not because they do not make money, but because they cannot keep money. They let it flow through their fingers as quickly as it comes in. Rockefeller lived by the principle of delayed gratification from his earliest days. Even when he was making very little money, he set aside a portion of every dollar he earned. He did not spend everything he made. He saved, he invested, he was patient. He understood that building wealth is not about one big windfall. It is about consistent, disciplined choices made over time. It is about saying no to the immediate so you can say yes to the ultimate. It is about living below your means, not to be cheap or stingy, but to create margin, to build reserves, to position yourself for opportunities that require capital. Most people reverse this. They live above their means, financing a lifestyle they cannot afford, accumulating debt to purchase things they do not need to impress people they do not even like, and then they wonder why they feel stressed, why they feel trapped, why they cannot break free from financial pressure. The answer is simple. They have not developed the habit of delayed gratification. They have not learned to say no to themselves. They have not cultivated the discipline to pass on something today in order to build something bigger tomorrow. This habit is not about deprivation. It is not about living a joyless, miserable life where you never enjoy anything. It is about intentionality. It is about asking before you spend, is this moving me toward my goals or away from them? Is this an investment in my future or a drain on my resources? Is this something I truly need or just something I want in this moment because I am bored, stressed, or trying to fill an emotional void? When you develop the habit of pausing before you spend, of evaluating your purchases against your priorities, of choosing to save and invest rather than consume, you begin to build momentum. You begin to see your accounts grow. You begin to feel the freedom that comes from not being enslaved to your desires. And here is what happens that is truly powerful. As you practice delayed gratification, As you prove to yourself that you can control your impulses, your confidence grows. You realize that you are not a victim of your circumstances or your cravings. You realize that you have power, that you have agency, that you can make choices that shape your future. And that realization breaks the grip of the spirit of poverty, which wants you to feel powerless, wants you to feel like you have no control, wants you to stay trapped in a cycle of impulsive decisions that keep you broke. If you want God to entrust you with more, you must prove that you can manage what you have with wisdom, and that includes managing your desires, managing your impulses, managing your need for immediate satisfaction. Start small. The next time you are tempted to make an impulse purchase, stop. Wait 24 hours. Ask yourself if you still want it tomorrow. Chances are, you will not. The next time you see something you want, ask yourself what you would have to give up to get it. Is it worth it? Does it align with where you are trying to go? The next time you get paid, before you spend a single dollar, set aside a percentage for saving, for investing, for building your future. Make it automatic. Make it non-negotiable. Treat it like a bill you must pay, because it is. You are paying your future self. You are investing in your freedom. You are building the foundation for the financial breakthrough that God wants to give you. But you have to do your part. You have to develop the discipline. You have to cultivate the habit of delayed gratification. And as you do, you will see doors begin to open, opportunities begin to appear, and the spirit of poverty will lose its grip on your life. The fifth habit that God requires is the habit of continual learning and skill development. And this is where many people plateau and never understand why. They reach a certain level of competence, a certain level of income, a certain level of comfort, and they stop growing. They stop learning. They stop stretching themselves. They assume that what got them to where they are will automatically keep them there or take them further, and that is a dangerous assumption. The world is changing constantly. Industries are evolving. Technology is advancing. Methods that worked 5 years ago are obsolete today. If you are not learning, you are falling behind. If you are not developing new skills, you are becoming irrelevant. If you are not investing in your own growth, you are guaranteeing your own stagnation. The spirit of poverty loves complacency. It loves ignorance. It loves the mindset that says, I already know enough. I do not need to read. I do not need to study. I do not need to improve. That mindset will keep you trapped in mediocrity for the rest of your life. God has given you a mind, and He expects you to use it, to sharpen it, to fill it with wisdom and knowledge and understanding. Proverbs says, "The heart of the discerning acquires knowledge, for the ears of the wise seek it out." Wise people are hungry for knowledge. They read, they study, they ask questions, they seek mentors, they invest in courses, in books, in experiences that expand their understanding and increase their capacity. Rockefeller was a voracious learner. He studied his industry obsessively. He understood every detail of the oil business, from production to refining to distribution. He read constantly. He sought advice from experts. He was not content to rely on what he already knew. He was always looking for an edge, for a better method, for a deeper understanding, and that commitment to learning gave him a competitive advantage that his rivals could not match. He did not just work harder than others, he worked smarter. He saw opportunities that others missed because he had developed the knowledge and insight to recognize them. And that is what continual learning does for you. It opens your eyes, it expands your thinking, it gives you tools and strategies that others do not have. It positions you to add more value, to solve bigger problems, to command higher compensation. If you are not earning what you want to earn, one of the first questions you need to ask yourself is, what value am I bringing? What problems am I solving? What skills do I have that others need? And if the answer is not much, then the solution is clear. You need to increase your value by increasing your knowledge and skills. This does not mean you need to go back to school for years or spend a fortune on degrees. It means you need to become intentional about your growth. Read books in your field, listen to podcasts, watch tutorials, take online courses, find a mentor, join a mastermind, invest in conferences or seminars. Dedicate at least 30 minutes a day to learning something new, to sharpening a skill, to deepening your expertise. Over time, that daily investment will compound in ways you cannot imagine. You will become more capable. You will become more confident. You will become more valuable. And as your value increases, so will your income. This is not a maybe. This is a guarantee. The marketplace rewards value. The more value you can provide, the more you will be compensated. But you have to put in the work. You have to make the investment. You have to commit to becoming a lifelong learner. And here is the spiritual dimension of this. When you invest in your own development, you are honoring the gifts and talents that God has placed inside you. You are being a good steward of your potential. You are refusing to waste the abilities He has given you. And when God sees that you are serious about maximizing what He has entrusted to you, He multiplies it. He brings opportunities that require the skills you have been developing. He connects you with people who need what you have to offer. He opens doors that were previously closed because now you are ready to walk through them. So ask yourself, when was the last time I read a book that challenged my thinking? When was the last time I learned a new skill? When was the last time I invested in my own growth? If the answer is, I cannot remember, or never, then you have identified one of the reasons you are stuck. You have stopped growing. And when you stop growing, you stop earning. When you stop learning, you stop advancing. But the moment you commit to continual learning, the moment you decide that you will invest in yourself consistently and intentionally, you break free from stagnation. You begin to move forward. You begin to see progress. And the spirit of poverty, which feeds on ignorance and complacency, loses its power over you. So make the commitment today. Decide right now that you will become a lifelong learner, that you will invest in your skills, that you will expand your knowledge, that you will grow into the person you need to be, to walk in the financial freedom God has for you. Because that freedom is not just going to fall into your lap. You have to prepare for it. You have to become someone who can handle it. And that transformation begins with a commitment to continual learning. The sixth habit that God requires before He liberates you from the spirit of poverty is the habit of building and nurturing strategic relationships. And this is the habit that many people overlook entirely, to their own detriment. They think that success is a solo journey, that they can do it all on their own, that asking for help is a sign of weakness, that relying on others somehow diminishes their accomplishment. That is pride, and pride will keep you poor faster than almost anything else. The truth is, no one builds wealth alone. No one achieves great things in isolation. Every person who has ever accomplished something significant did so with the help, support, guidance, and partnership of others. Proverbs tells us, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. You need people in your life who challenge you, who push you, who see your potential even when you cannot see it yourself. You need people who have gone where you want to go, who have done what you want to do, who can show you the path and help you avoid the pitfalls. You need people who will hold you accountable, who will call out your excuses, who will not let you settle for less than what God has called you to. And you need people you can serve, people you can add value to, people you can help on their journey, because generosity and service are keys to unlocking favor and opportunity. The spirit of poverty isolates. It tells you that you are on your own, that no one understands, that you cannot trust anyone, that reaching out for help is risky or embarrassing. It keeps you trapped in a lonely struggle, where you keep making the same mistakes because you have no one to learn from, no one to guide you, no one to open doors. Rockefeller understood the power of relationships. He built strategic partnerships with people who complemented his strengths and compensated for his weaknesses. He surrounded himself with advisors who were experts in areas where he was not. He cultivated relationships with investors, with suppliers, with distributors, with political leaders. He understood that his network was his net worth, that the quality of his relationships directly impacted the quality of his opportunities, and he was intentional about it. He did not wait for relationships to happen randomly. He sought out the people he needed to know. He added value to them. He built trust. He created win-win scenarios where everyone benefited, and as a result, he had access to resources, to information, to opportunities that others did not have, not because he was smarter or luckier, but because he had invested in relationships. You need to do the same. You need to take inventory of your current relationships and ask yourself honestly, are the people around me lifting me up or pulling me down? Are they encouraging my growth or enabling my mediocrity? Are they speaking life and possibility into me, or are they reinforcing the limitations I am trying to break free from? Because here is the hard truth. You will become like the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you are surrounding yourself with people who are broke, who complain constantly, who have no vision for their future, who blame others for their problems, you will adopt those same attitudes and behaviors. But if you surround yourself with people who are growing, who are building, who are dreaming, who are taking action, you will be pulled up, you will be inspired, you will be challenged, you will see what is possible. So if your current circle is not supporting your vision, you need to expand your circle. You need to seek out new relationships with people who are where you want to be. Join a mastermind group, attend networking events, engage in communities of like-minded people who share your values and your goals. Find a mentor, someone who has achieved what you want to achieve and who is willing to share their wisdom and experience. Be willing to serve, to add value, to give before you ask for anything in return. And here is the key. Building strategic relationships is not about using people. It is not about manipulation or networking for selfish gain. It is about genuine connection. It is about adding value. It is about creating mutual benefit. It is about recognizing that God has placed certain people in your path for a reason, and your job is to steward those relationships well, to honor the people He has connected you with, to be faithful, reliable, generous, and authentic in your interactions. When you approach relationships this way, when you are genuinely interested in helping others succeed, when you are willing to give without keeping score, something powerful happens. People want to help you. Doors open. Introductions are made. Opportunities come, not because you are manipulating or scheming, but because you have sown seeds of trust and value, and now you are reaping the harvest. So take action today. Reach out to someone you admire and ask if you can buy them coffee and learn from their experience. Join a group or community where you can connect with others who are on a similar journey. Look for ways to add value to the people in your life. Be generous with your time, your knowledge, your encouragement. And as you build and nurture strategic relationships, as you invest in people and allow people to invest in you, you will find that the spirit of poverty loses its grip because you are no longer isolated, no longer alone, no longer trying to do everything by yourself. You are part of something bigger. You are connected. You are supported. And that makes all the difference. Now, before we move to the conclusion, I want to speak directly to those of you who have made it this far in this video. The fact that you are still here tells me something important about you. It tells me that you are serious. It tells me that you are not just looking for a quick fix or a magic formula. You are looking for real transformation. You are looking for truth. You are looking for a pathway out of the financial bondage that has held you back for too long. And I want you to know that I see you. I honor your commitment. I honor your willingness to invest this time in your own growth. But here is what I need you to understand. Watching this video is not enough. Agreeing with what I have said is not enough. Even feeling inspired and motivated is not enough. Transformation requires action. It requires implementation. It requires you to take what you have learned here and actually apply it to your life starting today. And I want to help you do that. I want to be a part of your journey, not just for this one video, but for the long haul, because breaking free from the spirit of poverty is not a one-time event. It is a process. It is a journey. And that journey requires consistent input, consistent encouragement, consistent reminders of the principles that lead to breakthrough. That is why I create content for this channel every single week. I am here to equip you, to challenge you, to remind you of what is possible, to give you practical strategies and spiritual insights that will help you walk in the financial freedom God has for you. But I can only do that if you are connected. So here is what I am asking you to do right now. If you have not already, click that subscribe button below this video. And do not just subscribe. Click the bell icon so you get notified every time I release new content. Because I am going to be sharing more strategies, more principles, more truth that will build on what you have learned today. I am going to be diving deeper into the habits of wealth, into the mindset shifts that are required, into the spiritual principles that govern prosperity. And I do not want you to miss any of it. I do not want you to watch this video, feel inspired for a moment, and then drift back into your old patterns, your old thinking, your old habits. I want you to stay connected. I want you to keep growing. I want you to be part of a community of people who are committed to breaking free, to building wealth, to walking in the abundance that God designed for them. And here is my promise to you. If you subscribe, if you stay engaged, if you apply what you learn, you will see change. You will see progress. You will see breakthrough. Not because I have some magic power, but because you will be consistently feeding your mind with truth, with wisdom, with encouragement, and that consistent input will shape your thinking, which will shape your decision, which will shape your results. So do it now. Click subscribe. Click the bell. Leave me a comment and let me know that you are in, that you are committed, that you are ready to do whatever it takes to walk in financial freedom. Because I am here for you. I am committed to you. And together, we are going to see God do things in your life that you never thought possible. Now let me bring this to a close with the most important truth of all. Everything I have shared with you today, every habit, every principle, every insight, is worthless if you do not understand the foundation upon which it all rests. And that foundation is this: you are not trying to break free from the spirit of poverty so you can live a life of comfort and ease and self-indulgence. You are breaking free so you can fulfill the purpose God created you for. You are breaking free so you can be a better steward of the resources He has entrusted to you. You are breaking free so you can bless others, so you can advance the kingdom, so you can leave a legacy that outlives you. Financial freedom is not the goal. It is the tool. It is the means by which you accomplish the mission God has placed on your life. And when you understand that, when you see wealth not as something to hoard but as something to steward, not as something to consume but as something to multiply, not as something to selfishly accumulate but as something to generously deploy for kingdom purposes, everything changes. Your motivation changes. Your priorities change. Your relationship with money changes. You stop serving money and start using money to serve God and others. The 6 habits I have shared with you today are not optional suggestions. They are requirements. They are the pathway God has established for those who want to break free from the spirit of poverty and walk in abundance. Radical stewardship, sacrificial giving, consistent work with excellence, disciplined, delayed gratification, continual learning and skill development, building and nurturing strategic relationships. These habits are not easy. They require discipline. They require sacrifice. They require you to go against the grain of a culture that worships comfort and instant gratification. But they work. They have worked for countless people throughout history. They worked for Rockefeller. They work for every person who has ever built lasting wealth with integrity and purpose. And they will work for you if you commit to them, if you practice them, if you refuse to quit even when it is hard, even when you do not see immediate results, even when the spirit of poverty whispers lies, trying to convince you to give up. You are not a victim. You are not destined to struggle financially for the rest of your life. You are not trapped. The spirit of poverty has no legal claim on you. Jesus came to set the captives free, and that includes those who are captive to financial bondage, to debt, to fear, to scarcity thinking. He came to give you life, and life abundantly. But you have to cooperate with His plan. You have to align yourself with His principles. You have to develop the habits that position you to receive what He wants to give you. And when you do, when you commit fully, when you hold nothing back, when you say yes to God and yes to the transformation He is calling you into, you will experience breakthrough that defies explanation. You will see doors open that you did not even know existed. You will receive opportunities that you could never have created on your own. You will walk in favor that makes no natural sense, because you will be operating in alignment with the laws of the kingdom. And those laws are more powerful than any economic system, any government policy, any market condition. So here is my final word to you. Do not wait. Do not put this off. Do not tell yourself that you will start tomorrow or next week, or when things settle down. Start today. Start now. Pick one of the 6 habits I have shared and commit to it fully for the next 30 days. Maybe it is radical stewardship. Sit down tonight and create a detailed budget. Maybe it is sacrificial giving. Decide right now how much you are going to give this week and to whom. Maybe it is working with excellence. Go to work tomorrow with a renewed commitment to bring your absolute best. Maybe it is delayed gratification. Identify one purchase you were planning to make and delay it for 30 days, putting that money into savings instead. Maybe it is learning. Buy a book this week on a topic that will help you grow in your field. Maybe it is relationships. Reach out to someone you admire and ask to learn from them. Pick one. Commit to it. Do it consistently. And watch what God does. Because He is waiting. He is ready. He has already prepared the breakthrough. He is just waiting for you to step into alignment with His requirement. And when you do, when you prove yourself faithful in these habits, He will release resources, opportunities, and favor into your life that will blow your mind. You were not created to live small. You were not created to struggle. You were not created to be bound by the spirit of poverty. You were created for abundance. You were created for impact. You were created to be a conduit of blessing, a steward of resources, a world changer. But that version of you, that person who walks in freedom and purpose and provision, that person is on the other side of obedience to these habits. So make the choice, commit to the journey, refuse to settle, and get ready, because God is about to do something in your life that you have been waiting for, praying for, believing for. The spirit of poverty is about to lose its grip. The chains are about to break. The breakthrough is about to come. And it all starts with you saying yes to the habits God requires, trusting His process, and walking in faith even when you cannot yet see the results. Do that, and I promise you, everything changes. Everything.